What's going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. We're back, right? Monday, we got through that day. Now we're back into it, and I think we have another 20 days. We got another vacation. It's a little shorter. I mean, not shorter than the last one, but shorter than we normally have. But the light's at the end of the tunnel. We're almost halfway through the year, sorta. So let's review what we did yesterday. So the intro to the whole genocide thing. We started with the Holocaust. I'm hoping from that you got an understanding of it wasn't just one guy, Hitler, this bad guy against people who were Jewish. Way more complicated than that. There were a lot of people that thought that was a good thing. When we get back to genocide in a couple weeks, we're going to see this thing play out all over the globe. Cambodia, we'll do a little mini lesson on Cambodia, Rwanda, Ukraine, Armenia. So given the right circumstances, the genocide could happen anywhere at any time. Luckily in the US, I think we are a long way from that happening. I mean, a lot of bad things would have to happen in rapid succession, but people start worrying about where their next meal is coming from. They look for someone to blame. All right, we'll dive more into that. We also have flowers for Algernon. We've met this guy, Charlie, born with an IQ that is quite a bit lower than most people. So he has some learning disabilities. He's actually going to a school for slow adults, I think it is. And his teacher recommended him to these scientists, and they have just done an experiment on him. His grammar's terrible. His spelling is terrible. But as we've seen, it's getting slightly better. So today, getting a little warm. Today, I think the first sentence, something kind of big happens. Algernon, flowers for Algernon. Algernon is a mouse, and he has not been able to beat this mouse because the mouse has also had this operation. So I'm glad we did talk about the Nazis yesterday. I know some people have done some of their own research on Nazis. Some people yesterday, I think, didn't quite know who they were. But I think most people in the United States, when you say Nazis, you're like, ooh, those are bad people. But at one time in the world, I mean, they were just a political party that was running Germany. So the verdict wasn't out on them yet. Oh, maybe they got some good ideas. Hopefully in 2022, everybody's like, no. And one of the things that came up in a couple classes is that the Nazis did experiment on certain people. It might have been the disabled. And it mentioned in one class, twins were a common test subject. So when I read Flowers for Algernon first, I'm like, this sounds like you're messing a little bit too much with nature. And what's going to happen here? And a lot of times bad things happen. If anybody's ever heard of, gotta take a drink. If anybody's ever heard of the story Frankenstein, Frankenstein is actually the doctor. It's Dr. Frankenstein. And he does this experiment on trying to create life. Okay. And things go horribly wrong. So there is a theme throughout literature that when you start messing with nature, playing God, bad things happen. Humans aren't supposed to do that. That's a theme. So keep that in mind. Maybe these scientists are messing around with things that they should not be messing around with. And maybe there's a theme to that. Anyway, let's get into the actual reading. Since I kind of did a review for about 4 minutes. But the first line right here, let me make this a lot bigger, is April 6th. Hey, spelling April right now. That's good. I beat Algernon. I didn't get didn't right, but that's okay. I didn't even know I beat him until Bert the tester told me. Then the second time I lost because I got so excited I fell off the chair before I finished. But after that, I beat him 8 more times. I must be getting smart to beat a smart mouse like Algernon, but I don't feel smarter. So again, we have another what we call it, a still maybe from the movie. So that looks like Charlie right there. And Miss Kinnian is right there, played by Claire Bloom. What do I know that name? I do know that name, Claire Bloom. She was married to a famous author. All right, right at the top here, I wanted to race Algernon some more, but Bert said that's enough for one day. They let me hold him for a minute. He's not so bad. He's soft, like a ball of cotton. He blinks, and when he opens his eyes, they're black and pink on the edges. I said I can feed him because I felt bad to beat him, and I wanted to be nice and make friends. Bert said, no, Algernon is a very special mouse with an operation like mine, and he was the first of all animals to say smart so long. He told me Algernon is so smart that every day he has to solve a test to get his food. It's a thing like a lock on a door that changes every time Algernon goes in to eat, so he has to learn something new to get his food. It made me sad because if he couldn't learn, he would be hungry. I don't think it's right to make you pass a test to eat. How would Dr. Nemore like it if to have to pass a test every time he wants to eat? I think I'll be friends with Algernon. So a couple things there about Charlie. Notice, the guy is incredibly kind. Just speaks for itself, how he's treating that mouse. Also remember how his friends treat him. Remember, he works in a factory. He went out one night with the boys, maybe. I think they met a few ladies, and they just treated him like he was the butt of their every joke. So poor Charlie, maybe one day, maybe small spoiler alert, sorry, he will realize like, oh, wait a second, people are making fun of me. So that might be coming. April 9th. Tonight, after work, Miss Kinnian was at the laboratory. She looked like she was glad to see me, but scared. I told her, don't worry, Miss Kinnian. I'm not smart yet. And she laughed. She said, I have confidence in you, Charlie. The way you struggled so hard to read and write better than all the others. At worst, you will have it for a little while, and you're doing something for science. We were reading a very hard book. I never read such a hard book before. It's called Robinson Crusoe, about a man who gets marooned on a desert island. He's smart and figures out all kinds of things so he can have a house and food, and he's a good swimmer. Only I feel sorry because he's all alone and has no friends. But I think there must be somebody else on the island because there's a picture with his funny umbrella looking at footprints. Hope he gets a friend and not be lonely. Yeah, Robinson Crusoe, very famous book written in like the 1700s. So you can imagine early 1700s, I think like 1719 or something like that. It's right around when like European explorers are visiting the New World, North America, South America. So there is this whole idea of adventure. And Robinson Crusoe is about a man who gets shipwrecked and has to survive on an island by himself. It was very popular in the 1700s, still a classic. I think it's still being read in some college classes. I read it at one point, and he does find a friend. Forgot the friend's name, but it's like a local inhabitant of the island. But I don't think most people would want to read it now because it was written in the 1700s. So like Charlie said, it is a very hard book just because the language has evolved a little bit over the last 300 years or so. All right, Miss Kinnian, April 10th. Miss Kinnian teaches me to spell better. She says, look at a word, close your eyes, and say it over and over until you remember. I have lots of trouble with through. These are hard anyways. Okay, think about this. Through, look at the way it's spelled. It's right there in blue. Through. That you say through, and enough and tough that you don't say anew and two. You got to say enough and tough. That's how I used to write before I started to get smart. I'm confused, but Miss Kinnian says there's no reason in spelling, and there really isn't. Like we break the rules all the time, which is why I blame those rules on me being a horrible speller. Luckily, we have spell check. Use that thing. If there's a red line under what you wrote, good chance that's spelled the wrong way. I use spell check pretty much every day. Very thankful for spell check. All right, couple more here, and then we will be done. April 15th. Ooh, does anybody know the significance of April 15th? I know your parents do. I'll pause here. And you will very soon realize that April 15th is when taxes are due. So a lot of times you'll have to pay money. Sometimes you'll get money back, but you always want to have to pay money. I learned a long time ago that you want to put that money in a bank or savings account, earn a little interest off it, then pay the government. But it's hard to do sometimes. All right, Miss Kinnian says, I'm learning fast. She read some of the progress reports and looked at me kind of funny. She says, I'm a fine person and I'll show them all. I asked her why. She said, never mind, but I shouldn't feel bad if I find out that everybody isn't nice like I think. She said, for a person who God gave so little to, you've done more than a lot of people with brains they never even used. I said, all my friends are smart people, but they're good. They like me, and they never did anything that wasn't nice. And she got something in her eye, and she had to run out to the ladies' room. All right. Anybody have any idea what just went on? Like Charlie has no idea, but I guess like right there in the blue, he is missing that apostrophe S, and it is IES. But for ladies' room, just pause here. All right, it sounds like poor Miss Kinnian, she knows that his friends aren't really nice to him. Charlie has yet to find that out. All right, let's do a little more grammar here. April 16th. This is actually kind of funny, I think, as an English teacher. Today, I learned the comma. This is a comma. A period with a tail. Miss Kinnian says it's important because it makes writing better, she said. Somebody could lose a lot of money if a comma isn't in the right place. I don't have any money, and I don't see how a comma keeps you from losing it. She says everybody uses commas, so I'll use them too. Yeah, maybe Charlie used a few too many commas there. I don't know. And some of these questions on the side, I don't think they're great. Hey, you all have books now. You all have books. So you can check this out in your book if you want, right there. It will be a couple days, but I will get some shells ready so you don't have to keep bringing them to class, to your locker, back to class. But you can, if you want, mark the spelling errors you find in Charlie's entry 15. Yeah, I don't think we have to do that. There aren't that many. There are fewer. We know that, right? He's missing some apostrophes there. Maybe he'll learn what an apostrophe is soon, but he's got the comma thing. He uses them. He just doesn't use them the right way. What do you notice about the number of errors as compared to the total you marked in the March 7th entry? Guess what? I bet there are fewer. What does this reveal about the operation? What do you think? He is probably getting smarter. All right, that's it for today. Take a look at the stuff on the board. Make sure you've done those things. 2 poems that will be going in really soon if it's not already in there. So there were 28 people that turned it in the beginning of yesterday. I think there are now like 35. So still almost half missing. So let me know. All right.